London was originally a military camp. When you look at the Tower of London, you may notice ravens who are the guardians of the tower. The ravens cannot leave, since it is believed that if the tower is abandoned by the ravens, the kingdom as well as the tower will fall. Another interesting thing about the Tower of London is that underneath the tower, two skeletons who are 500 years old were found, as well as the remains of a dog.
The monument to the Great Fire was constructed as a reminder to the Great Fire of London, which happened in the year 1666 and destroyed over 13,000 houses, churches, and even Guildhall and St. Paul's Cathedral.
A guildhall is a historic structure that was first used for tax collection by local governments or business owners in Great Britain and the Law Counties. Guildhall continues to have a significant impact on the city today. It serves as a location for state and civic banquets, meetings of the elected assembly of the City of London, the Court of Common Council, and the ceremony for the honorary freedom of the city.
1577 and 1580, Francis Drake sailed around the world on a galleon called the Golden Hind. She was initially called Pelican, but Drake changed her name in honor of his patron, Sir Christopher Hatton, whose crest features a golden hind mid-voyage in 1578. One of the major sponsors of Drake's around-the-world journey was Hatton.
This photo is taken on the London Bridge. In the background, you can see the shard from which there is a beautiful view of the city. London Bridge was constructed between the years 1967 to 1972 and inaugurated by Queen Elizabeth II in the year 1973. The Bridge House Estates charity covered the whole cost of £4 million.
During the time of our stay, The Winter's Tale and Titus Andronicus were played in the Shakespeare's Globe Theatre.
The reason why the Millennium Bridge is nicknamed the Wibbly Wobbly Bridge is because pedestrians experience an alarming swaying motion on its opening day.
St. Paul's Cathedral was built between the years 1675 and 1710. In the year 1666, a restoration was in progress when the original cathedral was destroyed during the Great Fire of London. It was demolished and a few years later, cathedral, which stands even nowadays, was built there. The Guild House was the center of a slave trade too. In 1783, the Zong case was heard here. In the year 1781, the crew of the British slaver ship Zong massacred more than 130 Africans who were held as slaves. Sadly, despite the fact that the case was against the slave dealers, they ultimately got away with the murder.
One of the earliest surviving Elizabethan timber frame house fronts in London is the gate to the Church of St. Bartholomew the Great. William Scudamore constructed it in 1595. While some of the stonework on the gate dates back to 1240, the majority was added during restoration work in 1932.
The room price for a night stay at the Savoy Hotel, with 2 queen beds, city or courtyard view, had the best price of £835, including the tax.
Some of the famous visitors were Marilyn Monroe, Elizabeth Taylor, Barbra Streisand, Bob Dylan, Charlie Chaplin, the Beatles, and many others.
12 former employees or students of King's College and its institutions received the Nobel Prize.
Nelson's Column is a monument in Trafalgar Square built to commemorate Vice Admiral Horatio Nelson's decisive victory at the Battle of Trafalgar over the combined French and Spanish navies, during which he lost his life.
Whitehall was once a wide road that ran to the palace front. After the palace was destroyed in the 18th century, the path to the south was widened. The boulevard is well known for its memorial statues and monuments, notably the Senator, which serves as the UK's main war memorial in addition to the government buildings.
In Whitehall, some of the Tudor remains which could be found were, for instance, Royal Palace of Whitehall.
The primary national war memorial in Britain that honors the victims of the First and Second World Wars and other wars is the Cenotaph in Whitehall.
Under William II, the hall started to be built in 1097 and finished 2 years later. His goal was to demonstrate his authority and might. In 1847, the House of Lords held their first session in the newly constructed chambers, and in 1852, the House of Commons. Construction didn't end until a decade later, despite the fact that the majority of the remaining structure was built in 1860.
The last queen who was crowned in Westminster in 1953 was Queen Elizabeth II. Later this year, King Charles III will be crowned as well.
Westminster Abbey is an Anglican church in London. The beginning of Westminster Abbey go to the 1950s when Edward the Confessor started to build this church in the year 1065. This place is famous for royal weddings, funerals, and coronations.
Westminster Cathedral is the biggest Catholic church in the UK. During the 19th century, the Roman Catholic Church has been restored and Westminster Cathedral started to be built in the year 1895. Originally, it was estimated that it would cost £150,000. The cathedral was opened a few years later in the year 1903.
Nowadays, the royal family still hosts ceremonial events and social gatherings in the palace. The Prince of Wales, Princess Royal, and Princess Alexandra reside in London in St. James Palace.
The furthest station from the Oxford Circus station which we visited was the Watford Junction. We used it to go to the making of the Harry Potter studio.